Hey Gary, what does that say about Asian drivers? And what about Asians being good at math?
You know about the three O's?
I do not.
The three O's of bad driving? This is a joke I heard. It wasn't at work. The three O's are old, ovaries, and oriental.
Well, hello there, Gary.
Hey there, Blair.
And welcome everyone to another episode of the Phat Games podcast. Gary and I are independent game developers making a classic JRPG called Kids of Karendow. We are trying to find our way in this crazy game dev space, and we also are trying to learn how to make our game successful. So Gary, what are we talking about this week?
This week we have a guest coming on. Her name is Valentina. She is our first female guest, which is kind of a milestone, I guess, for us, because we just previously have never had a female guest before.
And so we would think that's kind of strange, but really, given the number of women in the space, it's probably about right in terms of just from a complete proportional perspective. And we cover that when we talk to her. So it's a very interesting conversation about women in this space and women in the tech space in general, and some of the challenges and hurdles that they have to overcome and deal with. And on that note, should we bring on the guest, Gary?
We shall. Let's get to it.
Hey, Valentina. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Oh, there.
How's it going? Doing all right.
You guys have met before, right?
I don't think so.
Kind of. I think when I was at Gumbo visiting, I saw you. You were in that little booth there, but I actually don't know if I actually have officially met you. So
yeah, you went to MegFest, were you? No.
Not this year.
But you went to PAX, and I didn't go to PAX.
I did go to PAX, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so why don't we start with letting you introduce yourself and tell us about what you're working on and how you got into this crazy indie game space.
All right, so I guess my name is Valentina. I'm New York based. I'm a game developer. My background is technical, like data engineering, basically. So that was my day job for a long time. But I also wanted to do art stuff. So I kind of got into games because it's a lovely mix of programming and art. And I really needed a project that combines them both. So I made one game. It's a tower defense game. It's an Android and iOS. And then I was like, I need something more serious. So I'm working on a narrative exploration game. It's called Unwound. It's about being a ball of yarn. You're kind of just like a small round object, and you roll around and attach stuff to yourself. And there's a story to it and everything that I'm not going to go into. But yeah, so that's what I've just been working on for the past few years.
Nice. How long have you been working on it now?
This game it's on its third year, I believe. I think I started beginning of 2019.
Okay. So when do you want to finish it?
Well, my current step is to try and get funding, hopefully. We'll see if it happens, and then I can, things will move faster. Because right now I'm literally just working by myself. Well, Nisa, my friend, she's doing the writing for all the text for the game. And like I'm working with a musician as well, but the rest of it is being made by me. So it's a very slow process. But if I can get funding, I can expedite things, and we can be done in like under 2 years, I hope.
That sounds pretty great. I think we still got another 4 years with Kids of Karendow.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh man. Every time someone asks me about it, I tell them, yeah, we're about 10 years out.
I hope not. I really hope to God not. Although we've kind of like fallen a couple months behind because of stuff, reasons beyond our control. But whatever, we'll get it done. So where did the inspiration for Unwound come from? Because you are literally a ball of yarn that rolls around.
Yeah. So at first you were just a round object. So the first inspiration for it came from agar.io, a little web browser game where you're like little dot, and you eat like dots smaller than you, and then you get eaten by bigger dots than you. And it's like a multiplayer game, I guess. Technically, you should play with other people. So basically just trying to grow in size by eating things that are smaller than you and trying to avoid getting eaten. So that's how it started. And first it was going to be a 2D game. So like I kind of wanted to play with scale and getting bigger, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was like, nah, it used to be 3D because I want to play like monumental scale and just being really small. So for a long time, the first like 2 years of the game development, you were just a round shape. You didn't have like, you weren't a ball of yarn. That came along later. But yeah, basically just want to make a game where you're like really small. I guess the other inspiration is being a kid and having toys, and the toys are just like tiny. Everything is really huge. It's kind of like playing with environments and having things be really big. Kind of irregular everyday objects looking different in different light. Yeah.
Did you have any experience in 3D before this?
No, it's my first 3D game.
Yeah, I don't have any 3D experience, and I'm not sure I ever want to. So we'll see how that goes. I can't imagine that making 3D models is fast.
Yeah, everything in my game, like 99% of the stuff in my game is found assets. I haven't made anything.
Okay.
So you can find a lot of stuff that's actually pretty good quality. And it's hard to make it look coherent, but it's doable, cohesive as an art style.
I imagine you've had to make some changes to it and stuff, though, to sort of make it more cohesive.
Not as much as you would think, honestly. A lot of it, my approach is kind of lighting and like shader stuff to give it cohesion rather than actually changing models.
Oh, that makes sense. So do you have a Mac build for it that I can play?
I need to make a Mac build.
I can find a bunch of bugs for you if you want, because I'm part of your Discord and I saw the Windows build, but I can't play that.
Yeah. No, I need to make a Mac build. Oh, yeah, I need to get on that. I'll probably have that in a week or two.
I found I put together a Windows build for our game recently, and of course there's a bunch of Windows only bugs that were found that I had no idea existed. You can't actually save in the Windows version. Well, you can save once, you can't overwrite your save file, and that was annoying. It's good to know though.
Weird. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a file locking issue. When I looked in the logs. Anyway, I want to avoid getting too technical here. So the next thing I want to kind of get into is, first of all, let me predicate this with, this isn't an area I think too much about in my day-to-day life, or really in life in general. But it seems to be very prevalent in culture right now, I guess, really, if you watch any sort of media or go on social media, is we as society seem to be locked into discussions around immutable characteristics once again, whether it be being a woman, being a different race, Black, Hispanic, whatever, Asian, or being gay or something like that, or being transgender is the latest in the underrepresented people's debate, I guess you could call it. So I hate to say that we first of all, we actually haven't had any women on the podcast before, and that was our mistake. We just haven't done it, and so I'm glad you said yes. But one of the things I want to talk about is, what is the experience like being a woman in this space or in technology in general? Are some of the horror stories that sort of get propagated in the media as accurate as we think they are, maybe? Or is it far more mild, and there's sort of a variety of experiences that, like, I assume it's more like that people feel in working in a space that is a space that's still heavily dominated by men?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I can only speak from my personal experience, right? I can't, I have heard horror stories from other women. So those things do obviously happen very much. I think, as we all know, but from my personal experience, it's kind of more mild and more sneaky in a way, because you do get Some men who are just like very polite to you and very nice to you, but then they kind of just like don't listen to you, or like just like, you know, like you say a thing and they pretend like you didn't say anything, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of ways to make somebody feel invisible in a way without being obviously like sexist to them. And I feel like that's more what I've experienced. I haven't had any obvious like people super inappropriate things. I have had a boss say like, you know, like, hey, you need to smile more, that sort of thing, which was annoying. The thing is, this boss was also like an obvious ally. He would give me really good projects to work on. He'd give me raises and good money, and but then he would also like, you know, occasionally say things that weren't really, you know, cool. So sometimes people can be a mix, right? They may just not know that you shouldn't really like say that shit. Pardon the language, but
you can swear. It's all good.
All right. But the thing is, it's like somebody can be really helpful, but also kind of like little, you know, at the same time. It's not necessarily one or the other.
So it really is a lot more shades of gray then. I mean, that's sort of what I expected, but it can, I mean, first of all, I don't think anyone should be judged for immutable characteristics. I mean, I don't know, I actually have no idea how old you are, but I think you're the same age as me, like mid-30s to early 40s. So we grew up in a time when at least I was raised to be just judge people by the content of their character and by nothing else. But I've observed, I would guess you could call it casual sexism in my employment life as well. I'm not going to say anything about my employer or who I work for, but I've noticed it, and I thought I was actually pretty disgusted by it, especially because there was another woman on the team. And what's worse is it was on email, and she was on the email chain when they were making these casual, like just casual jokes, like sexist jokes about women. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like how stupid are you guys? First of all, if you're going to do that, or if you are sexist like that, first of all, why do it at work? Because that's just gonna get you in trouble. And why do it with another woman on the chain? Like, are you just being an idiot? Like, but it happened. And
the email chain was the best place to do it.
Yeah, it's all recorded. Yeah. I actually encouraged my coworker to go to HR, but she decided not to. She didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but it was definitely inappropriate. And they made some gay jokes on there too. It was less often. But I only observed that once, thankfully. And I also actually respect most of the people that I worked with there. Not all of them, but most of them. And I know who some of the worst offenders are on the sexist side of things are too, of that group. But it's still troubling to see that, because why? What is that? Is it just to feel like you fit in then, maybe? Like they want to be like one of the guys? What do you think, Jerry?
Don't see anything wrong with it. They think it's totally fine. Like I've had men in the meetings be like, yeah, women can't drive, like, no, that sort of thing. It's like, just like, oh yeah, women are bad at these kinds of things. It's just like, they don't think it's a big deal. They think it's actually true, right? Like they think it's 100% legitimate. Like that women are just on average bad at this kind of thing. Therefore it's totally cool to be like, you know, women are just bad drivers all the time, right? It's like, okay, cool. Like they think it's 100% true, and therefore they don't see anything wrong with like saying it.
Hey Gary, what does that say about Asian drivers? What about Asians being good at math?
You know about the 3 O's?
I do not.
The 3 O's of bad driving? This is a joke I heard. It wasn't at work. The 3 O's are old, ovaries, and Oriental.
Isn't Oriental no longer like that's considered derogatory now, right? I don't know. I can't keep up.
So. No one has actually said that term in a long time. Like I don't really hear it, but yeah, maybe it is. I think it probably was at some point.
It's kind of funny because like I'm a woman in tech, so in a lot of ways I don't really fit the stereotype of like what women are good at or what women do. So every time like women are gonna be like this, they're gonna be like, you know, women are like maternal or whatever, or they're bad at like whatever. I'm like, I guess I'm not a woman. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? It's like
well, I don't know. Here's what I think. I think when people joke about that kind of stuff, they're not necessarily saying it because it's true. They're saying it because they know it's kind of like a bullying mechanism, I guess.
I don't know. Or I think people do actually think it's true. It could be used as bullying as well, but I do think that they genuinely believe that to an extent as well.
Do you think sometimes they're just trying to be ironic and they're just trying to make a joke? No, it's all just
not in my experience. Yeah,
Gotcha.
not in the cases that I've heard. Yeah.
I mean, maybe bullying wasn't the right word. I guess it's I don't know. It's a way for them to, I don't know, get social position, I guess.
Yeah, could be.
It's their own insecurities if they're doing it, and everyone has their own insecurities, unfortunately. But yeah, it's the way the world is. So we're celebrating the strong women of Kids of Karendow. You may notice our backgrounds. We've got Eamon behind me and Misha behind Gary. They're not the only two women in the game, but they are the first two that you get in your party. And yeah, she's the one behind me is the head of the resistance, and the one behind Gary, I don't want to give too many spoilers to the story, but she kicks ass. She's a martial artist who knows magic as well. So
Props to you, Blair, because Eamon, the character that's kind of behind you, you actually came up with her back in like 1997, didn't you?
I think that might have been my brother, but in terms of the way we wrote for her, she was definitely the most mature character in that version of the game when we released it in 2000. She was the only one not making toilet humor.
Oh, classic.